And good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Yellow Jacket Coaches Show with head coach Steve Bordeaux. I'm Keith Womack, and I'll be your host for tonight's show. The Yellow Jackets improved to 8-3 overall this past Friday night as Lee County and us went way down the road to beat Currituck County by a 41-38 score. Lee County will play this Saturday night in the second round of the state 3A playoffs. We'd like to remind you that our coaches show will re-air 1 hour before game time this Saturday night. Video of this coaches show will post tomorrow on the homepage of the WFJA website and the WFJA Facebook page. Our coaches show each week are brought to you by a great group of sponsors. Please go out and support these advertisers. We certainly would appreciate it. And of course, they are Jones Printing Company, Wilkinson, Cadillac Chevrolet Buick GMC, Domino's, the Dairy Bar and Flame Restaurants, Farm Bureau of Tramway, Sheriff Brian Estes, and Fix It Plumbing. We're going to take a short break and bring in head coach Steve Bordeaux, and we'll be back for the Yellow Jacket Coaches Show right after these messages.
WFJA would like to thank the following advertisers for bringing you the Lee County Coaches Show: Jones Printing Company, Domino's, WilkinsonCars.com, Sheriff Brian Estes, Farm Bureau of Tramway, the Dairy Bar and Flame Restaurants, Fix It Plumbing, and Brick Capital Video.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Yellow Jacket Coaches Show. This will be from the first week of the playoffs. And, of course, I'm Keith Womack, and I'm joined in the booth tonight by Lee County head coach Steve Bordeaux. Jackets are coming off a first-round win over Currituck County by a 41-38 score. If you were there, you know what I'm about to say. It was a long ride. It's almost in Virginia at the most northern eastern peak in North Carolina. But what a beautiful area and a great drive. And of course, when you have to come back late at night, coach, from as long as you have a victory in the bag, certainly makes things a lot better.
Yeah, definitely. So makes a ride back that long a lot more enjoyable for sure. Really proud of how the boys fought throughout. You know, it was a very competitive game. Currituck had a great offensive scheme. It did a really good job scoring points. Luckily for us, we got some stops late in the game. Defense really stepped up in the fourth quarter, and offense throughout just continued to make plays.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Coach. The thing that I noticed or that I take away from that game is some excellent offense by both teams. But the Jacket defense really dug in and held tight in that fourth quarter when it made a difference.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference we saw wasn't necessarily scheme, wasn't necessarily, it was just straight out, effort and kids having fun running around to the football. A little bit of excitement happening, and everybody was excited to see their teammate make a play, and it kind of just kept going from there. It wasn't any kind of big drastic scheme change. The boys just reacted and did their job and had fun doing it.
Well, Coach, notably one of their running backs, and I cannot remember his name. I don't have it in
Number
front of
7,
me,
yeah.
But, man, couldn't have been bigger than 5'8" and about 135 pounds, but he was fast. It kind of reminded me, hate to use this comparison all the time, but kind of reminded me of Kyle Flood when he played defense for the Yellow Jackets. He was just so fast nobody could catch him. And he ended up with like 145 yards in the first half. Jackets really only held him to about 30 or so in the second half. But boy, B.J. Brown, excellent night once again, and he racked up over 200 yards.
Yeah, really proud of the way offensively we continue to move the ball. It's kind of at will what we wanted to do on offense. Mark having a good game, spreading the ball around a little bit and having some good rushing yards. JoJo coming in doing the same thing. BJ, toting the rock, and that big offensive line making some holes for all those boys.
JoJo, I got to say this too. JoJo reminds me of when we were kids and we played in the park. He reminds me of that kid that was always bigger than everybody else. And so everybody would try to tackle him. They'd gang tackle him, and there'd be 5 guys hanging on to him while he's just dragging them another 5 to 10 yards. He is the most determined runner I have ever seen. Doesn't mean he always gets big yardage, but he's a hard guy to bring down.
Yeah, thankfully we have him on our team. We don't have to tackle him. That makes it a little bit easier sometimes. And he is a guy that it's tough to bring down. He's usually going to take at least 2 or 3.
Well, Coach, in that game last week, Jackets were down 28-21 at the half. It didn't seem like we could stop them. I think they scored on all their possessions except where the time ran out at the end of the first half. We were poised to score on every one of our possessions. Got a drive stalled. Was it a holding penalty?
We had a low snap that went by the quarterback, and then we barely missed on a touchdown pass. It was a little bit over the receiver's head.
So, what kind of adjustments did you and the staff make at halftime to really come back, especially with that emphasis on defense?
Yeah, we moved a couple different guys around on the field and making sure that they were understanding what the other team had, came in. They kind of came in doing something different than they had done on film. So we needed to make an adjustment and make sure the boys were seeing it. They were a team that ran the ball up the middle and in the middle with different pulling schemes, everything we had on film. And in the game, that was very rare. We stopped that early. The few times they did that, and they continued to try to get to the edge, and our edge defenders weren't doing a great job of turning it back to their help. We rotated some guys around and made sure those edge guys understood what the blocks they were seeing. Once they started seeing that, we were able to slow it down at least enough in the fourth quarter.
Well, in all fairness, and the guy's name was Fisher, I believe, the running back. But even when we had him bogged down, he could reverse field and just use his speed to go to the other side. It was just amazing to watch him run. But I thought you guys made excellent adjustments at the half, really kind of kept him in check. And, of course, Jackets going to a 41-38 victory, as we said. A lot of good, statistically, a lot of good play by the Yellow Jackets. B.J. Brown, as we said, 34 carries, 234 yards. JoJo Jennings, 7 carries, 90 yards. We had those two guys combined for over 300. You throw in the 70 yards for Mark Schlesinger. So we had 394 yards from 3 backs. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's not too bad. And none of that stuff happens without the offensive line. Really, really proud to see the way that, even when things changed up front, their defense made some adjustments. Our boys continue to stay one step ahead. Even us rotating in some guys on the offensive line, still everybody working together on the same page.
And Coach, Jackets 10 of 11 passing the ball, 103 yards. Mark Schlesinger 9 of 10. Didn't have to throw the ball a lot, but when he did, was very effective.
Yeah, definitely. So 10 of 11 can't ask for too much more than that. Being a picky coach, that 11th for 11th would have been another touchdown because we had it there. And but yeah, great game by him as far as being efficient and throwing the ball and stretching some things with his legs. Having 70 yards on the ground at the quarterback position definitely takes some eyes to him and helps when JoJo and BJ run the ball.
And we'll talk about this a little later, Coach. We can't go without mentioning that offensive line. When your backs, 3 backs, including your quarterback, end up with 400 yards of offense on the ground, somebody's doing something right. The big boys up front were taking care of business.
Yeah, definitely. So, Coach Santiago and Coach Bird do a great job making sure those guys are prepared. Not only the rushing yards, but keeping the quarterback clean in the passing game so they have that time. So really proud of the way that they competed and really gave us the opportunity to win the game. Without that group and without our performance on offense, we're not talking about a game this week.
Well, one last thing I'd like to mention when it comes to receiving the ball and special teams. Logan Walker had one, I remember that being a big catch for 16 yards to pick up a third and long situation for the Yellow Jackets. But Coach, there's been another player outside of JoJo Jennings that I can't imagine has played any harder over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and that's Kendall Morris.
Yeah, Kendall's had a couple really, really good games on offense and doing a lot of stuff on defense and special teams. Had a decent kick returner too. Then they stopped kicking the ball to us deep. And really was a guy that was motivated on defense to be vocal and make sure everybody else was on the same page and just kind of refusing to lose would be the mentality that I would say Kendall had, especially when he's on defense. But offensively, 6 receptions for 78 yards, and he had a huge touchdown that ends up getting called back. That was probably about another 65 yards.
Yeah.
So he's had a couple great weeks in a row. Hopefully we got about 5 more.
That was a block in the back.
Yeah, they call it block in the back, and it was a very nice run after the catch by him. That's what the officials saw though.
And 9 out of 10 times the blocks in the back are usually behind the play.
Yes, sir.
That's the sad part about
Yes,
it.
sir.
But, Coach, Jackets, almost 500 yards of total offense in the game, 497 to be exact, 400 yards on the ground. Bottom line is Jackets come away with an impressive 41-38 victory and on to the second round of the playoffs.
Yes, sir. I think, we talked a little bit about the defense making those stops in the fourth quarter. A really, really big possession of the game was after halftime. We go down and score and tie it, and then we forced them to kick a field goal. That was kind of the first success that we had saw on defense the whole game. They kicked a long field goal at it, but we kind of had that was kind of momentum swing where we were giving up those touchdowns. They had to settle for a field goal, and we continued to get touchdowns.
And I had a good field goal kicker.
They have a very good kicker, yeah.
Well, Coach, just to keep everybody in touch with what happened last week, of course, the Yellow Jackets win 41-38 against Currituck County. Number 11, Scotland County, defeated Fike by a 42-35 score. Hillside defeated Hope County 49-18, so Hope County from the conference is out. Holly Springs defeated Richmond County in overtime.
Yeah, double overtime, actually.
Yeah, double overtime, 36-33. So now they are out. Pinecrest it remains in with a 42-35 victory over Laney. So where that puts us is, of course, tonight Lee County, or Saturday we got to talk about that a little bit too. Saturday, Lee County will travel down to New Hanover, where they'll take on those folks in the second round. Scotland County will be at Terry Sanford. That's going to be a good game.
It will be.
Terry Sanford, very good team. Scotland County, when they're on, they're pretty good as well. And of course, Pinecrest will play Jordan. All that in the second round of the playoffs, and looking forward to just another Friday night of some great football.
Yeah, I think it's hopefully some success by our conference. I'm looking forward to seeing those guys continue to, guys we competed against, see them do well, and looking forward to Saturday night.
All right, we're going to take a quick short break and hear from a few of our sponsors. We'll be right back to talk more Yellow Jacket football right after these messages.
WFJA would like to thank the following advertisers for bringing you the Lee County Coaches Show: Jones Printing Company, Domino's, WilkinsonCars.com, Sheriff Brian Estes, Farm Bureau of Tramway, the Dairy Bar and Flame Restaurants, Fix It Plumbing, and Brick Capital Video.
And here we are back once again with head coach Steve Bordeaux and the Yellow Jacket Coaches Show. And, of course, Coach with a big victory and moving on in the playoffs. There comes some accolades, which, as most people know, we have a Norman Financial Group and a Bubba Subs Player of the Game. And, of course, John and I kind of go over that prior or right after the end of the game. And, of course, last Friday night's winner, with a great game of 234 yards rushing, that was B.J. Brown.
Yeah, great having B.J. back out there. I think everybody was excited to see him run the football, and I think even JoJo was probably excited to him not have to carry the ball quite as much as he had to the week before. But some of those big runs, some of those grinded out runs that B.J. was giving us, and just playing behind that offensive line, very well deserved.
Would note B.J. Brown only a handful of yards from getting 2,000. Hopefully he'll reach that
real early
early in the game. So congratulations to B.J. Brown. And on the defensive side, really he played great defense, but it was his overall effort to me that really put him over the edge. And that's on the defensive side, Kendall Morris is our Norman Financial Group and Bubba Subs Player of the Game.
Yeah, definitely. So, Kendall had a great game on offense, and I think in a game where it was really an offensive game, it might really just be almost two offensive player of the game is really what it was. He was the best guy that played defense and played offense as far as stat-wise, and did his job well on defense. They had no passes being called on him. He got on some tackles and affecting the game in the kickoff return game. So another well-deserved player of the game.
Well, Coach, and then we also have another great sponsor, Wilkinson Chevrolet, Cadillac, Buick, GMC. They have a coach's player of the game, and of course, there's three things you got to have to win. You got to have a good coaching staff. You got to have a bus driver because he's got to get you to the game, and you got to have a big offensive line.
Yeah.
Our offense or our player of the game from the coach's standpoint.
Yeah, definitely. So we went with the offensive line. Aiden Rooney, Wyatt Rickard, Nick Dart, Tyler McMullen, Lance Womble, Ryan Schertz, those guys playing playing key snaps and doing it very well, moving guys out the way, keeping the quarterback and the running back having those opportunities. They don't get their name called enough. They are the key to football. The offense and defensive lines are really what wins football games when it comes down to it in competitive games. And without that group, we aren't talking about a game this week.
Well, from Wilkinson Chevrolet Cadillac Buick GMC, on behalf of them, you guys enjoy your Bubba's subs this week, and congratulations for I thought just an outstanding effort in Friday night's game. Coach, right now the Yellow Jackets will get ready. Again, we got to reemphasize this. The game has been moved. They've already called it because of the impending hurricane coming in. I don't know what its name. I would assume it's Hurricane Laura. And but with that being said, it has been moved to Saturday at 6:30.
Yes, sir.
So it's going to be an hour earlier than Yellow Jacket fans are used to. It will be at North Brunswick. I recommend that everybody leave early, go down to the coast, grab you some good seafood, come enjoy some Yellow Jacket football, and support these young men. This is going to be a tough opponent. North Brunswick at 10-1. Their state rank in all 3A schools is 50. They're down around Leland. And Coach, going to be a heck of a game. What do we know about them?
Yeah, definitely. So maybe I don't want to see, but if there's 49 better teams than them, that's impressive. But North Brunswick's had a great season. They're in a split 3A 4A conference, similar to something what we're used to. Their only loss is to 4A New Hanover, and they won their 3A part of their conference. They're very athletic. They have some guys on defense that are impressive. They'll be one of the best, if not the best, defense we've seen all year. Offensively, they have a really talented running back who may be similar size to JoJo. He's close in size, what they have him listed at. And looking on film, he might be right there at it. And a quarterback who's very athletic, similar to the quarterback we saw this past week, who's able to be a threat through the air and on the ground.
Well, it's going to be a fun game. So defensively?
Yeah, defensively, they've done a really good job in competitive games, holding some teams down to some points and limiting some yards. They've created some turnovers. They have two outside linebackers that have gotten, one of them has over 100 tackles, a lot of tackles for loss. So they've done a really good job defensive scheme-wise, slowing some teams down and running to the football. Been one of the things that I was most impressed with watching on film. They do a good job of that.
Well, Coach, that's what we know about North Brunswick right now. What can you tell us about the Yellow Jackets? I know we've had some little nagging injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, B.J. Brown missed the Cavalier game to end the regular season. To me, it appeared he was limping a little bit before the game last week, but 230-plus yards. Didn't seem like he was limping too bad. How is he?
Yeah.
And how about the rest of the Yellow Jackets?
Yeah, BJ practiced today on a Tuesday. One of the first times he's probably practiced on a Tuesday in several weeks. So that's a good thing. We've been having to limit him in some things. He's been practicing full speed. My thing is, if you can practice full speed on Wednesday, we got a chance to play. If you can't practice full speed on Wednesday, you're probably gonna have to watch and root on some teammates because we got to know that you're able to do things full speed. But after today's practice, everybody that was dressed last week practiced well. We've had two really, really good practices so far. We need a couple more to be prepared. Finishing up under the lights in the stadium, I think that always just kind of turns up a little bit of excitement. With it getting dark out early, we get to take advantage of those beautiful lights in Paul B. Gay Stadium, and the energy's been really, really good.
Well, Coach, that's awesome to hear, because I tell you, to me, the most disheartening thing is when you've got kids that have practiced and trained all year to play, and then sometimes for whatever reason they're not able to finish out, especially when they're seniors. And I'm glad to hear everybody's healthy and ready to go. Do want to tell you a little bit about where we're going when we play North Brunswick. If you go down 40 and you go, I forgot the highway, but like you're going toward Leland, it's down in that area of North Carolina. They also have a brand new turf field.
Yep.
So they've got artificial turf. Anybody that went to Mecklenburg County up in Virginia earlier this season to watch the Yellow Jackets play, it's going to be a very similar situation. Did our guys have to adjust to that, or did they like playing on?
No, I think there wasn't much adjustment to it. Beautiful thing. If it's a little bit wet, it doesn't really affect it as much. The ball bounces a little bit different, so the kicking game you can get some different hops a little bit. But other than that, it's nice. It looks really, really good on film. Their whole county, they have 3 schools. All 3 of them have turf fields.
And just for the record, Harris Striffler, the lines are straight.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's artificial turf.
No doubt. And give Coach Striff a shout out. He makes sure the practice field and game field are painted every week, and them things are game ready for the boys.
He does a great job. We just like to give him a hard time.
Yeah.
Just a reminder for those going to the game this Saturday night at New Brunswick. You can use cash, or you can go to GoFan.com. To get your tickets. Have them ready when you get there. Of course, I want to thank Coach Bordeaux for joining us tonight as we get ready for this week's game. And, Coach, best of luck against this week's opponent, North Brunswick.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all. Hope we get a good little crowd down there on a Saturday.
Well, we'd like to thank all of you for listening. We're going to take a short break and come right back and close this thing out. Go Jackets.
WFJA would like to thank the following advertisers for bringing you the Lee County Coaches Show. Jones Printing Company, Domino's, WilkinsonCars.com, Sheriff Brian Estes, Farm Bureau of Tramway, the Dairy Bar and Flame Restaurants, Fix It Plumbing, and Brick Capital Video.
And welcome back one final time to the Yellow Jacket Coaches Show. I'd like to thank Coach Steve Bordeaux for joining us tonight and giving us his insight on tonight's or last week's game and a little look into what we can expect from North Brunswick. Of course, I'd like to remind you that the Coaches Shows this season will air live every Tuesday night, as it did at 7 o'clock on WFJA Sports. And then these shows will re-air 1 hour prior to game time, which this Saturday will be at 6:30, so it'll air at 5:30. A video of the Coaches Show will post on Wednesday on the homepage of the WFJA website and the WFJA Facebook page. Our Coaches Shows each week are brought to you by a group of great sponsors, and we hope that you will thank these advertisers with a thank you and even with your business. Bringing you the Coaches Show for 2022 have been Jones Printing Company, Wilkinson Cadillac Chevrolet Buick GMC, Domino's, the Dairy Bar and Flame Restaurants, Farm Bureau of Tramway, Sheriff Brian Estes, and Fix It Plumbing. We'd also like to remind you that game time this Saturday has been moved up to 6:30 or back to 6:30, however you want to look at it. So get ready and just get there a little earlier and tune in to WFJA Sports on 105.5 WFJA, or you can listen from anywhere in the world on WFJA, WWGPradio.com. And we'd like to thank all of you for listening to tonight's show. It's now time for Yellow Jacket football.